Oh, perfect. Good.
Okay, we're on. Welcome to BS Sessions 72. If technical difficulties had a value, we'd be bloody millionaires tonight. And I gotta hit the other button. Go.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
I think it must be just the World Wide Web tonight because, yeah, Chris, everybody, for once, Chris is silent. We can't hear him. This is a rare treat.
Oh,
Sprechen Sie
fuck
Deutsch?
yourself.
Okay,
We put him in the corner because he's
that.
been behaving badly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's really good when you lean over and sniff his elbow like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you been, boy?
I don't know whether I should talk or not. I
Oh.
don't even know if you guys can hear me.
No, we can hear
But
you.
I don't know if you can help yourself anyway.
I seem to be doing better.
And that's a compliment. What's that, Derek?
I said his audio seemed
Well-
to be doing better.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's gone now.
Unreal. All right.
Well, I don't know.
everybody.
I'm usually the one who holds this show together. So you guys are you're in trouble if I can't talk. So carry on.
Well, this
Right
is
on.
The
true.
true sign of a leader is if the group can continue without you at the head of it.
Well, I can tell you right now, he'll fail.
We're fucked.
Well, just don't be a quitter. All right,
Nobody
we got
likes
a
a quitter.
couple of that's right. A couple of special guests with us tonight. Firstly, let's get right into thanking our sponsors for supporting us, allowing us to do this technically effed up stuff every week. Starting with EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Commission a build today at emprifles.ca. Am I going to do all of them?
I'm
You're
not.
not even going to try?
Yeah.
Are you? Listen, it looks like you're pouting.
No.
Don't make me come over there.
Do you know how hard it is for a person like me to not be able to talk?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Am I?
All right, we
good
also have-
enough that I could do one of these.
Well, I think so. Just
We'll give it a
just
try.
give it a shot if you're willing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, well, we're also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Nope. All I hear is nope. You're frozen. Nope. Nope. Order
You're
coffee and
gonna-
merchandise. Coffee.com.
Excellent. We
I'm
caught
done.
about
I give
half.
that a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Kind of a 6 on the disc.
All right, we have. Yeah. We have call sign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course now at callsign66.ca.
And Odell Engineering, pick up a Canuck shotgun or a Bergera rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. Quit fucking laughing at me. Look them up at ltd.com.
Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes and binoculars at apexoptics.co, as well as the new red dot sights.
And the new
Wait,
bino
dragon, eh?
and Ribstone Gunsmithing, craftsmanship done right. Unlike the internet. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back.
Into any firearm. I just picked you up there.
Yeah.
The Shooting Edge in Calgary, Alberta, home of the Sterling Arms R18. There's an indoor range. They have training courses. They have a new 6-lane axe throwing bay, and also the new one shot, one spill cafe. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and on their website at theshootingedge.com.
And finally, March scopes. The Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Nisa at marchscopes.ca.
All right.
Is
Wow.
Kris actually just messing with us now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would like to say I late scouring the internet and I found the secret to the universe, and I'd like to share it with you right now. The secret to the universe is exactly this.
Well played.
Now you guys also know.
Thanks for that enlightenment.
We need a clip of Ace Ventura when he's in that at the insane asylum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing the
Let's see
football
that
play
in an
backwards.
instant replay. Unfortunately for you guys, I can only say the secret to life once.
No, there's no shock. I missed it.
Fortunately for you, all the things that we said while you were bloopering
You're gonna
out were also unreadable.
All right.
For me to
Well,
get this
we have
show going,
Peter
it's going to be a short
with
one.
Western Precision Rifle Series or League? It's Series, isn't it?
League, Western Precision Rifle League.
League.
Series. We
All
actually
right.
didn't. We never put the
50-50
last
chance.
letter on it. So it was
It's not
WPR,
Chris
Western
Stewart.
Precision Rifle.
Okay. All right. Let's stick with that.
Yeah.
We also have special guest host, star of the show, Derek with Banyak Precision. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, yes, you did. Yep.
Is that right?
It's,
Okay.
It's close enough. It's close enough.
All I know is a word that my grandmother used to call me fairly frequently. I didn't know what the hell it was until you guys came around.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but it was not an endearing word that she was calling you.
Well, at least I can close that chapter in my life.
Mm-hmm.
50 years later.
I still
Peter,
don't know what a
what-
banyak is.
So banyak is a Ukrainian/Polish word that means like a cooking pot, but it means that your head is empty like a cooking pot. So you're not a useful thing for making a meal. You're
Fuck you, Grandma.
something that doesn't hold a lot. So yeah.
I'll see you in hell, Marjorie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hence why we named ourselves that. There's a little bit of a inside joke.
It does have a better ring than empty pot precision.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I will give it that.
Empty Polish pot precision.
Our other choice was the saucepan snipers.
Yeah, I
We didn't
think
go
you
with
picked
that
right.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see custom made buckets next year for all your matches.
We can pull that off.
Laser and
All right, Peter.
We
For
actually
the
have a guy
love
for
of
that.
God, please
Yeah.
save us from ourselves and tell us about Western Precision Rifle.
Western Precision Rifle. About 5 years ago now. No, 2019. That is coming up on 5 years. We kind of looked around and we were trying to give the precision rifle competitors in our at the time 2-state region a place to kind of be organized and be part of something a little bigger than just one individual match here and there. We didn't have a lot of league presence from other areas, and so the need was there. And in addition to that, we saw a space that there's a lot of really high level competitors, but also there's a lot of people that are just getting into the sport or maybe have been in it for a year or two that they kind of get overlooked, so to speak. So when we established a league, we looked at creating a class system which recognized, and then everybody's gone.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh, okay. All I
we're
can see.
just
Oh, no, that's
highlighting
fine.
your
I know.
beautiful face.
Yeah.
We did a class system to help recognize people at different levels of their professional career, their shooting careers. No, yeah, and so we established an ABC class system. There's some percentage breaks where, based on the performance of the winner, and you can progress through the league from a C to a B to an A shooter. And we see a lot of guys coming in where, they start up as a C shooter. They're just maybe bought their first precision rifle and they get into it and they kind of get hooked. I mean, you guys know how this is. It's a little bit of a disease. We get really off in the weeds with it. And so those guys come in and maybe they have.
In what respect? You mean getting into the equipment game and all that?
Yeah,
sort of
equipment
thing?
and really every aspect of it. Every
Sure.
shooter seems to go through their own evolution. Some guys really focus on the gear, but other guys focus on technique and so on and so forth. But it's interesting to see how that plays out when they stack those competitors up against everyone else that's maybe doing it a little differently. Also, we saw that traditionally what the way it was looked at is we have a 50-60 person match, and the only people we really recognize are the top 3-5 people who show up. But as you guys probably know, I mean, that's traditionally the same 3 to 5 people at every event.
Yeah, often. Yeah.
Often, right? If you have a small community and everybody's kind of shooting everything that's available to them in a driving radius, that ends up being the same 3 to 5 people. So we wanted to foster an environment where people would come in and they could recognize where they currently were, but they could judge themselves against something other than just the overall winner of an event. And so the A, B, and C class system came in, and we looked at a lot of matches. We actually worked with a sister league that's in the Wyoming, Colorado area, WYCO, and we worked with those guys and like, hey, what are you seeing? What are we seeing as far as percentage points? And they set up a very similar class structure to ours, so that potentially down the road there could be some scrimmage type events where we could stack our top A, B, and C shooters against their top A, B, and C shooters. But also what it allowed you to do was, I may never shoot a match with Kris or against Kris. But because let's say we're both B shooters, I can see how I compare to maybe Kris and I are friends, Facebook friends, social media, whatever. We've never actually met, but we can actually kind of see how we compare to each other in a class system and never have shot against each other. Sometime down the road that may happen, but it kind of gave everyone the opportunity to see how they stacked up against other shooters in the region that they maybe didn't actually have the opportunity to compete against. And also to recognize the fact that everybody has a certain level of talent, and there's a lot in this game that has to do with how much money can you spend on it, how much time can you commit to it. And so at let's say a B level, that guy may not, because of his family, because of his work commitments, whatever is going on in his life, he may not have either the monetary assets or the time to be able to dedicate to it to get him to a level where he's going to win a match. But he can judge himself against a different goalpost. He doesn't have to win the match. He just has to be better than he was in his class. It's almost, essentially you're actually looking at 3 separate matches, right? You're looking, and there's also some intermittent goals to be set. So a guy comes into the sport, a gal, a kid, anything really, and they come in at a C level, let's say the first few, and they struggle, but everybody does. There's a pretty steep learning curve in the beginning. But then they see that, hey, if they show some consistency and they start performing better, pretty soon they're a B shooter. Well, that's something people like to hang their hat on that. That's something. 6 months ago, I was a C shooter. Now I'm a B shooter. There's a little bit of recognition in that, even though they never took home a trophy.
I'll give that a lot of credit, because as someone who's stacked up at low to near to the bottom, it can be rather intimidating at times to see how well you're doing.
Right.
Looking exactly towards the top, those top guys, but it's a little bit easier to see your progress.
And not to say that we wouldn't want to see you be a top A shooter and win a match at some point.
Yep.
But to see you compete against what are actually your peers at that point in time, right? Other guys that are shooting at a similar level, other competitors. I shouldn't say guys, because we have a lot of gals and a lot of youth now that are competing as well. And one thing we found with the class system is that it's kind of become a family sport. Families can bring the kids with, and the kids are comparing themselves to other competitors at their level, not who won the match. They didn't come in, 37th out of 40. They came in third in C class. It's a little more realistic to compare themselves to other shooters at their particular performance level versus the person who shot the overall best score. And not that we recognize those people as well. So we started that, and it absolutely exploded. We're going into season 4 now, because this was late in 19. Season 4 now, and we are, I think, 670 members currently. And actually, that's like, we tipped it just incrementally. The guys that are taking care of the membership stuff, we kind of talk about that fairly regular. And I did a podcast in November. We were 550 first of the year. We were 600. Here we are, February 10th or whatever it is. We're 670. I mean, it's growing every single day. And then, Canada, the Canadian precision rifle community has expressed some interest, and we've been thrilled to start to include that as well. It's growing faster than we know what to do with, which is a great problem to have.
So let's just kind of kick off there. You mentioned the Canadian portion of things. You have some matches coming up in Canada.
We do.
Can you detail those a little bit?
So
that's new for this year, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, this will be the first year
all of them
had
okay
Canadian matches. I'm going to pull this calendar up while we're talking so I don't misstate anything, and we'll talk about those because we have in excess of 50 matches this year, which is, I think the first year we had 26 or 7, something like that. And, the next year was 35, 37. We had slightly over 40 this year. We have over 50 this year. So let me get to page 2, actually, because we've got about 20 matches per page on the schedule. So Killarney, Manitoba, and that's Engage Precision is hosting that match. That's on June 15th. Right. They're actually running. So this is something, maybe just to back up for a second. The other thing that we chose to do with the league was it's all one day. Everything is a one-day match. And there was a specific reason behind that. There's a lot of 2-day matches in the States. I know you guys have a few, but sometimes those matches are out of reach from a time or financial commitment to a lot of shooters. Or maybe they're only able to commit to one of those or 2 of those a year. And we kind of laid out, we just sat down one day and we started penciling out numbers, and we're like, you could shoot 5 to 6 one-day matches through the course of the summer months for about the same money investment as what it costs you to go to a single 2-day match, let's say 5 to 7 hours from the house, where you don't fly. You just pay for your fuel and your ammo and your entry fee and so on. So we really did want the league to be accessible to a broader range of shooters than what 2-day matches were. And the reason I bring that up is because Engage Precision is running a 2-day match, but they're running Saturday and Sunday separately with regard to WPR. So you can shoot just Saturday or you can shoot just Sunday and take a score from either one of those for the WPR season.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And you could shoot both days and take two separate scores. The caveat to that for WPR is that you have, of your 3 scores for the season, you have to have at least 2 venues. So if you were to shoot both of those days at Pancake Lake, they could both count for you, but you would have to have a third score from a different venue in order to get your season complete. So, and I would encourage everybody that can to shoot both days. Maybe take the best score you can, because it is your top 3. So if you shoot poorly on day 2, there's a good chance you can push that score off of your season by shooting another match. And they are Engage Precision's running that. So they must be sponsoring both of these. Ericsdale, Manitoba is the other one.
Right.
So 2 different venues. And that one is also being run 2 separate days, and that's July 6th and 7th. Those are the 2. So there's actually technically 4 matches for us for our league. There's 4 separate dates there that would qualify. So you could shoot 3 of the 4 dates and have enough scores to see yourself show up in Three Forks, Montana, which is where the WPR finale is this year. So,
okay.
Anybody got their Google Maps going? What kind of a drive that is to come from, let's say, Ericsdale down to Three Forks?
Well, Ericsdale is a hike for just about anybody in Canada except for Winnipeg.
Oh, really?
It's the heck of it is. I think you have to.
That's the empty spot of Canada.
Well, Wyoming's the part of the U.S., so we have something in common there.
So Ericsdale to Three Forks, 14 hours, 48 minutes, 1,499.3 kilometers.
What are these?
Can you be more precise, please?
Yeah. What is that in miles?
A few.
Yeah, a few, right? Still 800 miles, I'm sure.
Speaking of venues, obviously you have a lot of matches being hosted. Do you have about the same amount of variety in venues, or do you have some main venues, or is it a little bit everywhere?
It's a little bit everywhere. We have a really broad, we're pretty fortunate. When we started supporting these, like, people started coming out of the woodwork because they were interested in doing this. We've got, I would say we probably have 4 to 5 of these venues are what I would call square range. They've got some terrain, but it's primarily a very positional match. And then the bulk of the rest of them are field matches where, and they might not be as, the one thing that square ranges benefit from is they can host maybe a monthly, they get on the schedule. But the other thing we see with our field matches is it's typically a 1 or maybe twice a season occurrence with field matches. They take a little bit more coordination with a landowner and that kind of thing. So
a lot more effort and setup as well too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because a lot of those venues they have to tear down again after. So they may setting it up twice a year is enough work. There's a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of work.
There's a lot that goes into this for anybody that wants to host it. So
yep, absolutely. So I'm just kind of wondering. I don't know a great deal really about the details between the different rifle leagues. But of course, and you probably knew this was coming. But compared to the Precision Rifle Series now, like that's blown up, and that is what I can kind of gather, sort of the elite league throughout the U.S. And I don't know if there's any actual PRS events in Canada. I know that there's an organization that has started here. Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but does any of that go toward PRS qualification, or is that strictly the rimfire stuff for now? Capra?
I'm not full on in the details of Capra in regards to center fire. They have released their rimfire requirements, but I'm fortunately not fully in on the center fire information. So
yeah, I gotta dig into that a little bit more. I'm aware of it, but so I understand your rules are a fair bit different than the PRS stuff. The whole point series, it's similar by the sounds of things, though not as what do you say, not as extreme onerous at least.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing that kind of pops into my mind too, your region for WPR, is it are you trying to kind of contain it within a certain region, or are you looking to expand or stay out of where the PRS stuff is, just to kind of keep some um, uh, definition between the two? How is that all? What's your vision, I guess, there?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question, and it's honestly something that when we started it, we didn't actually have a sense of how big it was going to get and how fast it was going to grow.
Right.
And so things like borders and just the geographical spread of things currently are starting to become more of a concern because, like Kris said, it's 14 hours from the Eriksdale match to where the finale is this year. That's a pretty big investment in time and fuel. So now it becomes a growing pain for us to deal with. Originally, it was just basically to kind of organize, and we wanted a community. We wanted we didn't necessarily want to. We wanted to stay away from the politics as much as possible. And that type of stuff tends to develop over time in an organization, and to some extent, it's inevitable.
Of course, yeah.
Thus far, we've been able to largely avoid it. There's not a us or them mentality with like the PRS. Actually, we've been working with Ken Wheeler to help co-op for what I would say the good of the sport. We've seen this sport grow, and we've seen a lot of leagues come and go, and in years past, there's been some direct competition between leagues. I don't know that helps the shooting community at all. So, we've been, we've, don't get me wrong, good ideas come out of competition because that's people are always trying to build a better mousetrap, so to speak. But, if what we're trying to do here is promote the sport, there's no benefit to the community or to the shooters if it's an us or them mentality. So,
yeah, the more choices a shooter has, I think the more it has the potential, at least, to benefit that particular shooter or set of shooters.
Right.
And the idea that there would be competition between two different organizations seems a bit silly to me, because I mean there's doesn't really seem to be a shortage of shooters in the US, especially where somebody from one organization might get snippy that, oh, they're attracting shooters that we think should be coming to our match. I don't see that being a logical argument for anyone, mind you. Logic and humans yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though. It doesn't benefit anybody to, and that's kind of why we open the door. It's these matches, most if not all of the matches that we currently sanction were already going on. We just gave them we just kind of tried to organize them and give it, connect it and network it a little more. I mean, they were all outlaw matches. No, I shouldn't say all. We have had some matches crop up because people got excited about what the league was about and the class system and things like that. So they got interested, and and like, started to put on additional matches. It has grown the sport. But
so you're talking like, when you say outlaw, like you're talking like club level matches, just small individual regions around having their own
yep,
little get together every
yep,
weekend or once a month or something like that. So
right,
you just gave them a little bit of structure and said, come on in under our umbrella sort of thing. We'll help organize and get people from a wider area to come around. Is that
right. Yeah, that's
okay?
exactly. I mean, the outlaw
Mhm.
nature of it was just, I mean, people enjoyed the sport, and there was no league, and there really didn't seem to be a need at that point in time. But then it actually just became more about networking it. And okay, well, I shot really well in Three Forks this past weekend, and there's a match in Cody, and there's one in Sheridan. These are all Wyoming, Southern Montana matches, but all within, let's say, 4 or 5 hours of each other. And it was just a chance to kind of drag those all together and co-support each other.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, like, this year, this will be our first year where we've always co-supported. So I mentioned the WYCO League in Colorado and Southern Wyoming, where we originally, when we stood this up, that was like a sister league to us, that we had similar standards, similar classes, and so on. And we did do some dual sanctioning at that point. If a match director had
Mhm.
shooters from both leagues that were interested in coming, we didn't want that match director to suffer from turning shooters away that weren't from his league, or for there not to be a benefit to
Oh,
those shooters to show up.
yeah.
And
Right.
we've actually looked at that again this year. We have a few matches that are on the fringe that they've been diehard supporters of WPR, but they're also on the fringe. And so it's been difficult for them to draw enough competitors to keep their matches viable. Well, if we dual sanction
Mm.
though, if we allow them to support another league, whether that's PRS or WYCO, or, I mean, there's quite a number of leagues out there, but if we allow them to let their points count in any league that they feel is appropriate for the shooters that are attending,
Yeah.
now more people show up. Now that match is viable and it keeps going.
Yeah, again, it
Right.
goes to investment. So you're investing that time, that road trip, that
Right.
money, that ammo. And
Yep.
if you're in between two leagues, which
Yeah.
one are you going to pick?
And if you're at the
Because
fringe of a region,
mhm,
like, everything is a long drive for you.
mhm.
Hmm.
You might have one local match, but everything beyond that is a long drive. But now, if there's another league supporting in the area that you can kind of draw points, and we've got guys that shoot in both leagues or several leagues, all three leagues.
Right.
And we
Right.
we actually have some matches in the southern part of Wyoming right now that are triple sanctioned. They're running in 3 leagues. So, and it does definitely, it's great for the sport.
Administratively,
Mhm.
has that been an issue, or has that been rather smooth, actually,
So this will be our
multi-sanctioning?
first year. With regard to dual sanctioning, which we've been
Mhm.
doing for a couple of years, that's been fairly easy for us to maintain. Triple sanctioning starts to
Yeah.
administratively, it's more challenging, and
Yeah.
the weight falls on the match directors typically.
Mhm.
Now it's up to them whether they feel like the benefit in attendance is worthwhile to add the sanctioning for that additional league. One of the things that we've always tried to maintain is a certain amount of autonomy for our match directors. I've said this for years, but if guys if they're putting on a poor match, heaven forbid they do, but if they're putting on a poor match, I don't have to tell them to change it. Their attendance should tell them to change it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a customer service business at the end of the day. So
Mhm.
I don't have to make a rule to tell that match director to do a better job. The league doesn't have to do that, because if it's not well run, even if they're abiding by every single rule you set forth, if they're just doing a poor job at the event, it's going to show at their attendance and it'll fall off by itself.
Mhm.
Not that I want that. We do
No.
everything that we
Yeah.
can to, we'll send out loaner equipment for scoring. We'll, I'll go to a match if it's a match director's first event. I have no trouble showing up and helping him manage the scoring and set things up, and I'll do a lot of it in advance if I can, so that they're kind of supported in that way. Because if they can get one under their belt and not completely implode, then they should take enough away from that where the second one is way easier.
Mm-hmm. So when you're getting some of those different, let's say, clubs involved under WPR or dual sanctioning or triple sanctioning, whatever, I'm assuming that you have standards set up, target sizes, the way some of the things are run, things like that, that is, well, standard across the board for all those matches within that league. How's that? And under the assumption that you've developed that, and that's what you hand out when you bring a new team, club, whatever, into the league. How's that typically gone? Because again, knowing humans, everybody's got a better idea somewhere, right?
Yeah. I love to see the better idea. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I got to bite my tongue because I'm like, oh, that's fucking stupid. You should not do that. But I have been proven. I mean, I have thought that in the back of my head, and I've seen a guy pull it off and go, you know what? That was actually really good. Good on you. So
touche.
Yeah, touche. Exactly. Like, I didn't think that was going to work at all, and you made it look, it was actually a really good thing for your match. So that's actually, for me, for the league, we love to see that, right? Because that's what it takes. That's what grows a match or a league, is that creativity. So we've tried really hard. I will say, like, the PRS kind of pioneered a lot of the standards that we see now, right? The 2 MOA target sizes, the 10-round stage, the par times that you typically see, all that stuff has become kind of pretty standardized throughout any type of precision rifle event, regardless of who's hosting it. That stuff is got, and we do tend to, and now with dual sanctioning, where there may be a PRS sanctioned event in conjunction with the WPR event, we're bound by some of those rules with those dual sanctioned events. But I love to go to a match where the MD is a little bit kooky, outside the box thinker. Yeah. I've got 2 guys here in Cody who I've learned to shut up because they have proven me wrong and they've got a match they're trying to put on next month. They're calling it the janky shit match. And it is every janky, screwed up stage that you have ever seen at a match, all thrown into one match, which I've always advised against. But I'm like, you know what?
I love it.
Here's some rope. I hope you don't hang, because I think but they're very excited to take it on and to try to do something fun with it. And that excitement is more what we're about than anything.
That just sounds like a typical hunting season in Saskatchewan, minus the side mirror on the truck, because a lot of them don't have them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. If you shoot the mirror, you zero the stage.
Right. Dumbass, you should have known that.
I did find out that
hide over bore.
If you stuff a 10-inch gun with a break out the window, you don't have to actually shoot the mirror to break it.
Right.
Yeah, learned that one the hard way.
Oh, the memories.
and that's been this community, right? That's been the motivation behind it. Like, we've got a lot of people that are hunters and spend a lot of time doing that, but we have a lot of people who really just enjoy the competitive community, and it very much is that. I've told this to people over and over again. It's like, if you took the social aspect out of this sport, it would die.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
8/10 of the reason that you're there is because you're hanging out with people that you enjoy being around.
Right.
If you were just there and shooting eight stages for a day or whatever it is, and not having the shit talking and the the social aspect of it. I mean, that's what the
100%.
community is for. Yeah. So well,
I think Mike Hynek just shot one over at me. Stages should be janky, though. Any idiot can make a shot from a rock solid, stable position. You
There
know
you
what?
go.
I don't fully agree with that.
I don't either.
Watch me. I can have a safe position, and I can still
is-
fuck it up. So.
This is killing Chris. He's down to sign language now.
Go ahead, Chris.
We'll try to muddle
You have
through
the
it.
floor.
On that topic, I find it is a bit interesting because I know Rimfire International, the Rimfire International event was held in Italy, and a lot of feedback from the competitors was that the positions were always very rock solid. I mean, they had the steel Bagheera logo cemented into the ground, but to me, it is PRS. It should be about adaptability. And as much as that's a nice logo for advertising, that's not exactly what PRS is about. So I think you have to continue to have jankiness.
I kind of draw.
We're a
this
little
up.
softer over there in Europe than we are in North America, I think. Eh?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Truthfully, when has anyone for the Western Hemisphere ever gone to Italy and not kicked ass with a rifle?
Well, yeah. Truth.
However,
That's fun.
Those beaches that you get, though.
I spent a lot of years. This has been some years ago now, but outfitting, guiding elk hunters, that kind of thing, and I didn't know. Like, if I had the tools that I have now with position building and I mean, even the gear that we see now, the tripods and the bags and, you know, just the talent that we have developed for learning to build a position in a non-traditional way, there is nothing we wouldn't have killed. Like, I can't tell you how many times we watched elk at 400 yards that we weren't comfortable with making a shot on it. If I'd known then what I know now, we'd have dumped things every day.
Oh man, if I had $1 for every time one of those thoughts go through my mind, you know, knowing then in my hunting years sort of thing, what I know now or have practiced now, like shit would die even more.
Yeah. Oh, we would
twice
have killed
even.
so many critters. It was, yeah. I watched, like, you know, 370-inch bulls, like, just walk away from us, and there was nothing we could do about it.
Right.
And you know, we would have, and they were well within range and capability of even like modest capability currently.
Right.
Just having a little bit of knowledge. So it's applicable. Like, so much of the stuff that comes out of this sport is applicable to other areas. If you like to hunt, you will, something will, I realize that you're probably never going to hunt off the top of a 55-gallon drum unless you're in Canada, but
right. They're everywhere.
They're
They are
everywhere. Yeah,
places.
they just, like, they're on the sides of the road. You just pull up. And
That's
throw
it. Yeah. Free range barrels, we call them.
Yeah.
They blow around with the tumbleweeds.
Right. Yeah, we've got plenty of those here.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all applicable. It doesn't matter what the height is or what the prop is. Like, you can learning to do that is applicable in any hunting scenario.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of along that same vein, you know, that age-old debate, how far is ethical? What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm sure you must have probably been in a few of those scrums yourself. But it's an interesting debate, especially now with how things have advanced so much with shooter skill. But you still get the old fuddy-duddies that, no, you need to kill an elk inside 100 yards or you're not a hunter.
Well, and so from an ethical standpoint, I think that's more, you know, kill it inside of 100 yards or you're not a hunter. That's more of an ego thing. That's you know, you basically
Most
got
of this is.
Yeah.
Ego. What's that?
Yeah, exactly. None of us have those, but
Yeah.
you know,
No.
for those rare cases.
Right.
However, I think you do have to be really careful and really honest with yourself when it comes to
Yeah.
what's ethical, because that's different for me than it is
That's an issue.
next guy. I, like a 600-yard shot, I will take that most days under most conditions, but not all conditions. There are days when, I've made this, we've talked about this before with some of the competitors, like, so a 12-inch plate, let's say that's a reasonable vital zone for a whitetail or a mule deer.
Right.
How many times have you missed a 12-inch plate at a match inside of 600 yards?
Often enough.
Often enough that you better consider that shot before you take it.
Right. Right.
Because there's no downside to missing a 12-inch plate in a match, except there's the education value though. And you do need to be honest with yourself that, hey, a 12-inch plate at 600 yards is a 70% hit for me, or a 90%, or whatever your talent skill of, and you have to equate that to the conditions you're in.
Yeah.
On a 5 mile and under day, that's probably a 90% hit for me. In a 20 mile an hour day, it's closer to 50%.
Right.
So on a 20 mile an hour day in the field, I'm probably not going to take a 600-yard shot.
Yeah. But you have to be prepared to have that negotiation with the other guy in your mind brain.
Okay.
Pull the
maybe
trigger.
We should get a little closer.
Pull the trigger.
The good news is,
chirping at you.
You can tell them whatever number you want.
Yeah.
I killed him at you can dump him at 100 yards. If nobody saw it, it was 1,000.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most likely it probably was by the time you get done with a third beer.
Right.
We've all heard that gun store lore.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
But I think it is very important to take what you learn. If you're going to apply it to a hunting scenario, you need to be honest with yourself about, you're going to take that shot at a steel plate every time. Nobody, there's no such thing as a KYL. It's shoot until you miss. No one knows their limits. We all miss. But there are consequences to that in a field setting. The KYL.
There is no spot and adjust with hunting necessarily.
Right.
So yeah.
So I do think it's important for your guy to be honest with himself when he's utilizing those.
That is an issue with most grown males, right? That sheer honesty with himself. It's an interesting phenomenon. We seem to be able to justify anything, convince ourselves of anything, because one of those guys in your head is telling you that this is the way it was.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many guys I've brought out to my range, and they make the comment that, yeah, last year I shot a whitetail at 450 yards or whatever, and I say, okay, that's awesome, good for you, man. Maybe this session will be shorter than I thought we'd have. And I said, okay, point to which target represents the distance that you shot that deer at. Just let's start there. You try and encourage the guy a little bit or whatever. And that one, okay. That is 250. I'm sorry, but this session just got a little bit longer.
So now I'm going to point to the target that's actually 450.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a box of ammo, and you tell me when you want me to help.
Usually I'm a little kinder than that. I'll tell you. I'll tell them, now I'll show you how to use your scope and get there reliably.
Yep.
And it's good. And you know what? Those people walk away with some good knowledge typically, and
teach them what a rangefinder is as well too.
Yeah, who needs a rangefinder? All my targets are marked.
So for you guys, what is a typical precision rifle match? Is it a lot of square range, field matches? Like, what is your typical match?
There's a lot of both. Hey, Derek, it's we have some in Alberta and some in Alberta, and there's one in the south end of Saskatchewan that it's kind of open range. It's all sorts, and we're very very lucky to have those. There's some wide open spaces in southern Alberta and Saskatchewan. I know my place. I'm kind of restricted to a half section one way, and just the way that the terrain is, it's kind of like a box. It's tough to. It's good for rimfire matches where
Very
you
good.
can
Yeah.
roam and set up different firing lines, all over in that 1 mile stretch. But to do it with center fire is a bit tough. And then there's some clubs like F class ranges and they want to host this type of the PRS or WPR type matches, but they are limited. But at least they're doing it. They're putting on those matches. It's yeah, for such a big country, it seems tough to find those wide open spaces where you can get 180 or 270 degrees worth of firing direction for a bigger match. So
Also, it doesn't help that our population is hugging the southern border, and most of the empty space is to the north.
Yeah. And we don't usually get cut lines through the bush that support a kind of a roaming firing line idea. Unless you want to walk, tens of miles.
That's a challenge, isn't it? I mean, I mean, having a field match and not sweating.
Because absolutely.
Finding venues that are accessible and have those multiple, fields of fire that you're talking about, but that don't require an excess of hiking or movement to, even driving to get to all those. That's a challenge. When you see one, it immediately, like, oh, this is perfect.
It surprised me, or it does surprise me often, looking at some of the venues throughout the U.S. Like the population in the U.S. is way more than ours here, but there's so many good ranges down there, and it seems like so much wide open space in some areas. I guess I hate to think what it must be like, sort of on the eastern side of the country, trying to find good open spaces, because there's a lot of population over that way, isn't there?
There, the eastern half of the country is definitely more densely populated, but they, if you've looked at match calendars, I mean, there's a lot of venues in the eastern part of the U.S. and they're primarily developed ranges, right? I mean, there's stuff going on there in addition to precision rifle matches. They've got shotgun, handgun, 3-gun, archery, all these other things that help support those. But there's a really avid community around shooting sports in general. So in the western states, we're very fortunate in that regard. We've got a lot of open space, and we've got a lot of landowners that are interested and supportive. We run some bigger 2-day matches in the area, and we're able to shoot past 2K on some of those.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
Yeah. So it's been, and honestly, we limit it to 2K, but there's probably half again or twice that in some areas.
Right.
How far do you want to make your engagements?
Yeah, that's a challenge. Like in the sort of the central parts of these two provinces, probably most of Canada, finding distance that with the terrain that you're forced to work with, because there's all sorts of distance in some cases, but due to terrain, trying to set up a firing line, you're limited to 1,200 meters or something like that, just simply because there's a hill over there and you can't shoot any other direction because a residence or something like this.
Okay.
A farm's in the way. Somebody doesn't want you shooting at his cattle. They kind of frown on that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
and then in the southern part of the province, it's a lot better in that respect. But again, it's a lot of travel as well. There's like Medicine Hat for us is about 4.5, 5 hours, something like that. You get out to Manitoba there, Ericsdale. That's about an 11-hour drive, I think.
Is it really?
You got to go to Winnipeg and then back north and west again to get to Ericsdale.
Okay.
I think is how that goes. So it's a hike for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
it's rough, hey.
It's really it's interesting, as the league has grown, like just understanding geography and trying to support people, but also like making sure they know where everybody's at and if it's even feasible for them to shoot more than one match or more than one location, I should say.
Right.
Austin's
chirping up with the Pancake Lake Open in Southwest Manitoba. Says we have a great venue, able to shoot darn near 360 degrees over 2 days. But like has been said, you might work up a sweat carrying all the gear that we lug around. That's absolutely true. Hey.
Yeah. Well,
what date is that? That's July.
They've got July, right? They've got. I don't know if that was the Killarney one he was talking about or the Ericsdale one.
I think it's Killarney.
Okay, Killarney's in June.
Southwest Manitoba.
Yeah. Killarney's in June. It's the 15th and 16th of June.
Oh, right.
Or wait, I'm sorry, May. Excuse me. Is that right? No. June.
No, June 15th and 16th. Yeah.
Yep, June 15th and 16th, and then July 6th and 7th is the one in Ericsdale.
Right. I've been telling those guys out at Ericsdale that for the past 3 years, I think that, we need to come out to your place. Call sign 66 does, I think, at least one course out there every year. It's a really good setup.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. It just seems like between work and farm and other engagements and closer matches and all that kind of stuff, it's tough to get out there. And there's lots of bugs out there too.
And coyotes.
Oh yeah.
It's good shooting them. Lots. Yeah.
Have you?
Oh yeah. I was about out this fall here, blasting a few. So
that's good. Good.
Are you guys
able another thing
with thermal or anything like that for coyotes?
No. Christ, we can't be trusted with that stuff.
Just
because you have a thermal, you might start an insurrection against the government.
Your point being?
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe not.
Unfortunately, there's some traditions we don't have here. Yeah, like to import some though.
You're right.
Yeah.
You just got.
Jens brings up a good point for a prairie kid. He says the simple reason why we don't go out to near Winnipeg. Well, wrong one. He says we just don't want to get any closer to Ottawa. There's probably a lot of truth in that in reality.
Is it
Mike says
Kansas, is he?
No.
There's an Ottawa, Kansas too.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Well, we don't hope your Ottawa, Kansas is no. Is that right? Pretty small breeding pool or what?
I think it maybe goes back to that steers and queers mantra that we've all heard before.
Yeah.
I will say, Mike and I were actually in Ottawa this September for the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series Nationals, and it actually wasn't too bad.
Feel dirty,
but we felt we chose a good day because it was a Friday, and politicians don't work on Friday, so the air seemed fresher in the city for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah,
but Yeah, it was nice in that regard. So
Yeah.
No, that probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So
Now, speaking-
back on track a little bit. I'm just wondering about MDs and ROs for your matches. We have a lot of trouble finding people that'll take time out of their days to do that. What are you finding there?
So largely, in fact, almost exclusively, everything is squad RO'd.
Okay.
We don't. I think our finale last year, we had a few of the more complex stages where there was like a time factor or something like that. They were manned. We had ROs on those, but if a general season match, it would be pretty rare for you to see ROs. It's all squad RO'd. They'll have the tablet. The bulk of, off the top of my head, I can't think of a single match that we aren't digitally scoring. And thank you guys for Practice Score. That's a Canadian thing.
Right. Yeah.
That's been our bread and butter when it comes to scoring.
Right.
And then we'll hand out a tablet and a timer to each squad, and they'll just carry that with them through the day. MDs, we've been extremely fortunate. We've got, let me look real quick because we've got a map on the website right now, an interactive map, and I'm just counting venues right now. And I'm going to go under the assumption that each venue has a separate MD. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 venues at just a real quick count. 20. There's another one hiding there. 20 venues. So we've got at least 20 MDs. And I actually know, so for like here locally for me, Cody, and then just over the mountain in Sheridan, they share some responsibilities. They have a monthly match, but they rotate MDs. So there's at least three separate MDs at those venues. So we're probably in the neighborhood of 26 to 28. And guys, it's really good. We have found to have all of that creativity like spread out. Everybody's got
no kidding,
right? I mean, you can shoot 2 matches at the same venue, but with 2 different match directors, it can be a vastly different experience. Right. Both of them good. Just each of them has their own style. They some guys really focus on like complex stage design where maybe the target order or something like that is challenging, and other guys are more focused on positions. They might have a 10 position, 1 target stage, that kind of thing, where they like a lot of movement on the firing line, and it doesn't matter to me. I love to see it all. It's all valid.
Right. Yep. Yeah, no kidding. Variety is the spice of life, I guess they say, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. And if every match was a cookie cutter version of the next one, why would you ever go anywhere?
Oh yeah, good point.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at the map on your website, westernprecisionrifle.org is your website. What are the differences? You've got locations in blue there, you've got locations in green, and other ones green with a black bottom, and I'm not sure what's written in the bottom of them, but what's the difference there?
The green ones are exclusively WPR matches. Those are the ones that are green with a black. The other half of the icon is actually the PRS. So those venues have chosen to dual sanction their events.
Sure.
So anyone who's maybe interested can find some information there. If they're, at a glance, they can tell that, okay, this is also counts for PRS points if I'm a member and I want to shoot that. The blue ones, and this goes down a whole nother rabbit hole. Actually, you guys are part of this as well. As you can see, there's 2 blue dots, one in Manitoba and one in Saskatchewan. The RTC series, it's actually one of the, to my knowledge, possibly the oldest existing rifle series in the country. Good friend of mine, Clint Sharp, and a bunch of his friends started and have been running that for the last 12 years. Do you guys remember the old TV series, Long Range Reality? Did you ever see that? There was actually
No, I don't believe I ever had.
It was
that
on the
right?
Sportsman's Channel like 2009 or 10, something like that.
Okay.
It's been some years ago. And it's an all team series. So it's 2 shooters,
Right.
typically 2 bolt gunners, although we do have some gas gun bolt gun matches as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that we assumed management of that. This will be our first season. So the series is still going. That was, for me, that was my first exposure to precision rifle, that TV show,
Right.
and then the matches that were associated with it. Like that got me excited about it. And it probably took me 5 or 6 years to transition from being excited about it to actually becoming an active competitor.
Right.
And so all the blue ones that you see on the map are Rifleman's Team Challenge matches they're 2-day team matches.
Can you go through that format, the team match?
So it was if you guys are familiar, it was kind of the predecessor to to a lot of stuff, honestly. But it was a find, range, and engage type of a series. It's two member teams. And basically the RO would tell you, okay, there are 5 targets between this point and this point. Go. And you would have to find them, range them, and engage them. And the par times were a little longer. You had like 6 minutes, I think, to find, range, and engage. And everything's pair fire. So you got 2 guys on the gun at the same time. And your partner is your spotter, not, if you don't see it, it's your partner's job to help you get on target. They pioneered the find, range, and engage format that we see in some of the other leagues now. They pioneered the 2-1 scoring that you see. So if it was a 3-round engagement on a target, it might be 3 points for a first round, 2 points for a second round, 1 point for a third round. And so the way you win those matches is you hit them on the first round because it's so many more points. The other thing that they do is they pair fire. So if let's say it's a 3-target array and each of you has to put 3 rounds on each target, it's going to be 6 rounds on the first target. It's 1, 2, 3 on the first shooter, 1, 2, 3 on the second shooter. Now we're going to the next target. We're doing it again. Unless, and in some cases, the match director would dictate, like, shooter 1's going to shoot all the way through, then shooter 2, and whether that was a safety concern because of the sectors of fire and so on, or in some cases, it's like it's important that shooter 1 gets good data on those 3 targets, but then remembers it long enough that when his partner gets on the gun, he can communicate, hey, I was holding this on this target. And if you're anything like me, I mean, I've switched targets. I don't know what the hell I held on that target.
I've data lost.
You remember if you hit or not. That's the biggest thing.
What's that?
You remember if you hit or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's correct. Anyway, so that series has been something that we've been excited to add this year. Something I haven't brought up to anyone, you guys would probably be the first, is I'm actively working on finding a way to integrate a 1-day format to that. And obviously, 1 day versus 2 day, they somehow have to be weighted because there's twice as much shooting.
Right.
So there needs to be
the physical aspect
there, but I think it would put it in front of more people. It's gotten very popular. Guys really like the team format. And I think if
for sure
have a 1-day option for that, it would really help grow that portion of it as well. So that's what the blue ones are that you see. And the finale for that one will take place in Montana as well. Actually, only about 2 hours from where the WPR finale is.
So does that team event incorporate a power factor calculation?
It does not.
Nope. It does not. Okay.
It's very race gun formatted, right? I mean, there's upper limits just to prevent, just to save steel and that kind of thing. But if you want to shoot a 30-pound dasher, have a ball. You know, there's nothing that says you can't.
So I don't know if I ever got the question answered really, like when we had Chris Hoyen and Jeff Scobie on a while ago talking about the NRL Hunter Series, and we did talk a little bit about that whole power factor thing. But in reality, what is the purpose of that? Is it sort of just to try and stay away from the really light calibers being tough to see a hit?
No,
it was that is, or
they've kind of limited, so they have a lower limit, and basically it was designed to use relevant hunting calibers, and they kind of wanted to stay away from the the low recoiling 6mm that
the
were
small and fast race.
Yeah.
So it kind of, you know, the 385,000 is their minimum, which is
that
like
sounds
a 140
familiar.
going 2714 makes power factor.
Okay.
Or 2740, whatever it is. Anyway, you can reverse math that, but
splitting hairs.
so they were basically just trying to set a lower limit. Basically, if you look at that number, it's impossible with it's pretty much impossible to push like a 115 DTAC and a 6mm fast enough to make 385.
Sure.
So
I
it's
see.
just
There
eliminated 6mm from the equation by setting that number there.
Right.
And there still is a velocity limit just in case somebody somehow gains that system. So
is there? Okay.
And there's
you don't see guys really pushing that I'm aware of. What they use the power factor number for, in addition to that, is to break ties, because it's
that's right, I forgot about that aspect.
So there's no, because time, and I totally agree with this, like time tiebreakers are kind of, I have an aversion to them. I won't use them in anything that I put on. They're complex. For one, it's impossible. If you have a time tiebreaker,
it was a management nightmare, I'm sure.
Oh my God. If you can get 100 competitors through the match and not fuck up 3/4 of the times,
amen.
Good luck. So
agreed.
The power factor was very controlled, and it was a way, and it's pretty tough to achieve the same power factor on two very similar guns. The odds, if you have a 2 foot a second difference in your average, even if you're shooting the same bullet, it's enough of a difference that they can break a tie with it. And the theory there being that a gun with a bigger power factor is probably tougher to shoot.
More skill involved. There's also rifle weight classes as well too.
There is, it's 12 pound.
Yeah, more to simulate. Well, I'm actually going to carry this on my back all day.
and a
for a realistic hunting situation.
A 12-pound gun is more difficult to shoot than a 16-pound gun.
Oh, definitely.
Sure it is. Yeah,
so,
sure it is.
Yeah.
Do you incorporate things like that, rifle weight or caliber, anything of that sort into your nothing? Hey,
no, not at all. It's
just simple classes. It's like skill classes, more or less.
Yeah, it's skill classes. It's basically, and everything's based off of the score. Whoever sets the curve for the match, right? The winner gets 100 points, and then you shoot a percentage of that person's score.
I gotcha.
And then you take your top 3 scores for the season, and that dictates where you land in your respective class. And then like this year we anticipate having over 100 shooters for the finale.
Wow.
We had 9. I think we just barely missed it last year. We had like 92 competitors at the finale in Sheridan, Wyoming. So, and
cool.
Three Forks is a field venue, so guys really like to shoot there. The guys that run that venue do a really good job at it. I mean, it's a fun course, so it's going to fill up. Like I don't think we'll see less than 100 shooters at that match. So, and that's been exciting to see, because honestly, two-day matches in the region are usually like 65 to 85 competitors, And we routinely see those types of numbers at our one-day matches.
Is that right?
It's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a fun
pretty
time,
impressive.
and it's accessible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody's got a life.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you've got kids in school, if you've got a demanding job, if you're, you know, you have commitments with your church, whatever the case may be, everybody's got a life. And you can go and you can shoot a WPR match on a Saturday and take your kid with you and shoot it too. But then you can go fishing on Sunday, or mow the grass, or go to church, or whatever else is going on in your life, you know? So it's kind of puts it within reach of the average competitor, you know, people that don't, money's not always the determining factor.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah. Get home and fix some fence so the damn cows don't get out next weekend when you go to a different match.
I can't tell you how many people I've had this conversation with. It's like they're the three most powerful forces on the face of the earth are tidal flow, tectonic shift, and beef cows.
Yeah. Right.
I
would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah.
That?
Plus, I would agree with that. Plus an ex-wife. But we won't discuss that here.
I'm actually adding that. I'm not sure if that comes below or above.
I don't know either.
Cattle. I'm not
as long as it's on the list. Yeah.
I have two. So.
So going backwards in the conversation a little bit.
It's taking a turn, isn't it?
No worries. I noticed you said you don't do time tiebreakers.
I do not.
So in case of shooters scoring the identical points, what happens?
So when I say I don't, as a match director, that is that's not how I run a match.
Okay.
I find another way. So I tend to do weighted points, where your first round hit's worth more than your second, than your and in 7 years of doing it that way, I've never had a tie.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
But we do have some match directors that are using time tiebreakers, similar to what you see in the PRS. Some of them are using, you'll see guys like pull a stage. It's like, okay, so you and I tied for whatever place. They'll say, okay, well, this stage was, we're going to use this stage as the tiebreaker, and you scored 7 and I scored 6, so you get it. Okay. And they'll pull it that way. Or they'll flip for it, because to be honest, when it comes to the league as a whole, if you and I score the exact same number of points, that only affects our season. It affects our season, but there's 2 other matches associated with that. So that's not going to make us tie for the season, just that given day. Well, I've arm wrestled for it.
I like that.
Had a Christmas match, and I tied for 3rd, so I had to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Greased pig rodeo.
What's that?
I like that.
Greased pig rodeo.
See? Yeah, I'm creative. I have I would rather see a greased pig rodeo than a time tiebreaker.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Chris D a little bit ago typed into the chat when we were talking about power factor, and that he says 375 Sierra Match King at 350 grain. Sure. At what would that be? 2,100 feet per second.
Right.
Yeah,
there's
talking with some of those guys that do the NRL Hunter and that, like, there's guys shooting 300 mags in that for some of those.
Normas.
Is that right? Holy cow!
I know a guy that shoots a Norma, and that's like, I'd have to pull up the calculator. I mean, what's a 275 running 2,800?
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
North of a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And he shoots it well.
He's a bigger man than I am.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm a 6mm guy all day. I don't like. I shoot some of those matches, and I shoot in the 12-pound class with a 6.5 Creed and 140s, and
right.
And you got to do a good job of your recoil management, or it'll show up in your score.
Absolutely. But all squared up and everything every time. That's you think about all the stuff that's going through your mind through a shot process, and that's one of the easiest to let go, I think,
Yeah,
in my experience
it's
anyway.
absolutely, because the minute the gun doesn't
Yeah.
recoil, you quit manhandling it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just kind
That's
of
right.
turn loose of it, and so.
Right.
But I will say, like, if you spend some time on a light gun and you get competent with it, and then you jump over to your other gun, you will be competent even more so on a heavier gun.
Yeah. I've experienced the reverse. That's for damn sure. Several years ago, my 260 Ackley took a hard poop very quickly in the middle of a course, and all I had was a scrappy old factory 700 Remington 308,
Oh,
and son of a gun, was that humiliating, because I thought it was pretty damn good with that 260 Ackley.
and you probably were.
And then I got on that old 308 again with a lighter barrel and a heavier bullet. And I thought to myself, man, you've really let yourself go.
We
So
we've
yeah,
got a
back on
shooter
the
that's
learning curve.
we've got a shooter that's local to us here that he spent 2 years on a 308, and the whole time he keeps talking about his 25 Creedmoor, but he never brings it.
Okay.
And he just keeps bringing a 308, and we're kind of scratching our heads. And I think he was sandbagging us, because he shot that 308 for 2 years, and the first time he showed up with a 25 Creed, he mopped the floor with us.
Right. Yeah.
Because, the
That is,
25
I think, the definition of sandbagging.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because he got good. He was actually very competent with that 308, and he was good on his wind calls. I mean, I don't think he missed a wind call one. Basically, it screwed him because he was a C-class shooter with a 308, and he was instantly an A-class shooter with a 25 Creed. Like two matches. So what we do with the way you advance in the class system is you have to show the consistency in your scores in order. So if you shoot let's say you're a B-class shooter and you shoot an A-class score, but then you shoot a B and then you shoot an A, that just basically says to me you're on the threshold.
Yeah.
But if you start
low A, high B.
Yeah, exactly. But if you start consistently showing A-class scores, 2 in a row puts you in A-class.
Sure.
So,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it does happen. Like everybody has a good day, or they show up to a match that maybe isn't well attended or something, and they shoot higher than the field just because of who they're competing against. So it does need to show consistency. And we didn't want to artificially bump someone into a class that they weren't competitive in. So,
excellent. Yeah, that sounds good. You know what? We could probably wrap things up here, unless you had some more gems of wisdom to throw out there.
The older I get, the less of those I have.
Well, is it that, or you just tend to keep them to yourself a little bit more than you used to?
That's a very good question.
I've discovered a lot of that lately too.
You know what?
Nobody listened before, so fuck you, you're on your own, kid.
Well, you develop a certain amount of humility, because about the time you think, oh, I've got this one in the bag, I'm going to run my mouth, somebody will knock you down.
The last time I thought that, yeah.
So
I've had a few of those. Yeah. I still have a few scabs from those kinds of lessons. Yeah.
Yep.
For some reason, a fella remembers that.
Yeah, pain's a powerful motivator, whether it's physical or emotional. It doesn't matter.
Sure is, man. Yeah, you betcha. All right, where can the good people out there find you?
So we've got, as you mentioned, we've got a website that's got a full schedule and a map of events and so on. That's westernprecisionrifle.org. We've also got a Facebook page and an Instagram. They're both Western Precision Rifle. They're pretty easy to find. You can join those groups. There's a lot of photos and information. A lot of people find their match information via social media, we found. So but the website is the website's there for people who don't use social media.
Yeah, and I posted the web address in the chat earlier on, but it's westernprecisionrifle.org. for anybody that wants to look up Peter and the organization. Derek, anything else? Any final words from you today?
Thanks for having me on, and thank you for filling us in, Peter.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been really good. Thank you. I mean, I'm really excited to have some Canadian matches on the calendar.
Yeah.
One of the things, and we'll get to this, it's not active yet, but I know that for you guys to come to the States to shoot a match, it helps to have an invitation letter from whatever match you're planning on attending. Mm-hmm. And so we're working on getting just a boilerplate letter that we can provide to the match director, who can fill in his information and then provide to Derek or you, in order so that to make that process a little more streamlined for you guys to come shoot in the States, or the other way around. Like if there's a match, if you're hosting a match and we need that same letter to expedite that process, it's not difficult. It's just some extra.
But you know what? I think it holds a lot of people up from actually trying to go. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But if you can offer that and make that much easier for folks to get down there, I think that would be and I think that would change things a little bit for sure.
Once that's complete, we'll have a link, like a documents page on the website and on the Facebook page for people to just download that and print it as needed.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
Okay. All right. Stay on with us for a little bit. We're just going to go through our exit here. For those of you watching and listening, check out the show at facebook.com/BS podcast. Leave a review, send us an email, tell us how shitty we're doing, whatever your pleasure. No nudies, please. I'm tired of those. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody ever sends them. Thank God.
That was the go ahead from this group.
Send us an email at info@bspodcast.ca. And once again, thanking our wonderful sponsors. Without these people supporting us, we wouldn't be able to do this every week without pulling vast amounts of money out of our pockets to do so. And we're talking about Shane and Steve with EM Precision Rifles, Miles, Carey, and Cappy with call sign 66, Duncan and Rob with Bolt Action Coffee, Phil Odell at Odell Engineering, Doug and Nisa with Mark Scopes Canada, Vanny and Carly at Apex Optics, Oscar with Ribstone Gunsmithing, and J.R. Cox with the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Canada. Thank you all so much. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
But some of these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it, which is a heat-seeking device.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Welcome to your weekly dose of BS, the Ballistically Speaking podcast.